Welcome to Mega Stadiums. Today, we're heading to Valencia, to a vast concrete skeleton for 16 years. A half-built monument to everything that had gone wrong at one of Spain's greatest clubs. It became a symbol of decline, of broken promises, of a golden age that had curdled into relegation battles. In 2025, the cranes came back. This is the story of the Nou Mestalla, how one of football's most ambitious stadiums became its most infamous ghost, and whether it is really finally coming back to life. Let's get started. To understand why Valencia ever tried to build the best stadium in the world, you have to go back to the moment they nearly were the best club in it. At the turn of the 2000s, Valencia CF were a genuine European powerhouse. Back-to-back Champions League finalists in 2000 and 2001, agonizingly close both times. Then came Rafael Benitez, and the silverware arrived. La Liga in 2002, then a remarkable double in 2004, another league title alongside the UEFA Cup. For a few short years, Valencia stood among the giants of the European game, and that success is the essential context for everything that followed. It is why the club felt entitled to dream on a colossal scale. Their home through all of it was the Mestalla. Opened in 1923, it is one of the oldest and most iconic grounds in Spain. A steep, vertical, deafening wall of a stadium holding around 49,000, the largest in the Valencian community. Its defining feature is its rake. The upper tier climbs at close to 35 degrees, near the limit UEFA permits, a near cliff of supporters stacked almost on top of the pitch. It is beloved, it is intimidating, and it is the emotional counterweight to this entire story, because it is the ground Valencia are about to leave. The dream was unveiled on November 2006 when President Juan Soler presented plans for the Nou Mestalla, a roughly 75,000-seat colossus on the TIMELAPSE side of the city, designed by Fenwick Iribarren architects and wrapped in some 25,000 square meters of shops, cinemas, and restaurants. Soler called it the best stadium in the world. The financial logic was elegant on paper: sell the old Mestalla to property developers and use the money to fund the new one. Build time: around 2 years. Cost: roughly 241 million euros. Ground was broken in August 2007, and then the world changed. The 2008 global financial crisis struck, and it struck Spain with devastating force. Combined with Valencia's own spiraling debts, work was suspended in February 2009 with only the bare reinforced concrete skeleton standing. The plan to sell the old Mestalla collapsed along with the property market. The club was left owning what amounted to 1.5 stadiums and unable to finish either. What followed was almost 16 years of paralysis. The shell stood abandoned, exposed to the elements, through redesigns and ownership changes. In 2014, Singaporean businessman Peter Lim's Meriton Group took control, and under Lim, Valencia slid from Champions League regulars toward relegation battles, while the skeleton stayed frozen. Broken promise followed broken promise, a slimmed-down redesign, an October 2022 restart date that quietly slipped past, and then the ultimate humiliation. In July 2024, Valencia were left off Spain's final list of host venues for the 2030 World Cup because the stadium simply wasn't progressing. The ghost had now cost them a World Cup, and yet this is where the story finally turns. After relentless pressure from supporters, and with the city council warning that the building permits themselves were at risk if nothing moved, the cranes returned. In January 2025, 16 years after the last of them had fallen silent, construction on the Nou Mestalla officially restarted. President Lê Hun Chan had put it bluntly to a skeptical fan base: it is now or never for the new stadium. This time, it seemed they meant it. The design that has now been resurrected is enormous. The Nou Mestalla is planned to hold 70,044, around 20,000 more than the old ground, and among the largest stadiums in the country. It is worth being precise here. That is the design capacity of a stadium still under construction, not a stadium that exists. It remains the work of Fenwick Iribarren architects, the firm behind 3 of the Qatar 2022 World Cup venues, a credibility marker worth noting, with Arup as structural engineer. The seating bowl is arranged across 3 tiers: a lower tier of around 21,500, a middle tier of roughly 16,700, and a vast upper tier of nearly 32,000. Around 6,000 of the seats are given over to hospitality across a range of price points, with sales reported to have begun already, and interest said to be strong, leaving the remaining 63,000 or so for regular supporters and existing season ticket holders. The signature feature, and the reason this is such a now story, is the roof. The The centerpiece is a technologically advanced structure, reported to weigh around 4,800 tons, built on a radial cable system with tension and compression rings. It is the most complex piece of engineering in the entire project, and it is the piece being assembled and lifted into place right now, across the top of the bowl. Alongside it, the design promises high sustainability standards and cutting-edge connectivity, all built to host top-tier UEFA and FIFA matches. But honesty demands the trade-off be named. This is not the 2007 dream. The resumed design has been trimmed for cost. The sprawling entertainment complex of cinemas and retail that Soler once promised is not the same project. And there were real doubts about the technical condition of a concrete skeleton left open to the sky for 16 years. Before the restart, an alternative was seriously discussed of abandoning the shell altogether and simply renovating the old Mestalla instead. What Valencia are finishing is a compromised, aging structure, not a blank sheet, and there is what is being lost. The old Mestalla, a century old, impossibly steep, deafening, is to be sold and redeveloped. For many supporters, no polished 70,000-seat bowl on the western edge of town will ever replicate that vertical wall of noise on Avenida de Suecia. Some things, they would argue, simply cannot be rebuilt in a new postcode, and that is the quiet cost buried underneath all the concrete and steel. For 16 years, the only honest answer to, is it really happening, was no. What has changed is that the answer is now a qualified, genuine yes, and it comes down, above all, to money. The truly decisive difference from every previous false start came in June 2025, when Valencia completed a financing package of around €322 million to resume and complete the project, backed by major institutions reported to include Goldman Sachs and La Liga. This is the thing that separates now from then. The money is actually in place. For context on how the years inflated the cost, the original 2007 estimate was around €241 million. Current figures for the total build sit somewhere close to €350 million. The main contractor is FCC Construcción, notable because FCC also carried out the original 2007 to 2009 works and has since built or renovated the Metropolitano, Español's RCDE stadium, and worked on the Bernabeu. Serious pedigree. As for what is physically on site, through late 2025 and into 2026, giant pillars reported at 38 meters tall and 30 tons each were installed in the north. The stair towers in the north and east were completed, and facade and interior work began before the decisive phase, the assembly and lifting of that 4,800-ton roof. As of early 2026, the club described progress as consistent and without project-threatening delays, with the municipality having signed off a key structural milestone. I'd flag that the roof phase was actively moving when these updates were reported, so the exact status will have advanced by the time you record. Then came the twist that made the deadline immovable. With construction genuinely underway and terms agreed between club and city, in March 2026, the Nou Mestalla was reported to have been added back onto Spain's list of 2030 World Cup venues, reversing the July 2024 humiliation. The stadium that once cost Valencia a World Cup could now host one. The target completion is for the summer of 2027, with a move-in for the 2027 to 28 season, and the club has confirmed that this season will be their final campaign at the old Mestalla. Season ticket holders are due to begin choosing their new seats by seniority in the second half of 2026. The tension that refuses to go away is the funding of it all, which still hinges on selling the old Mestalla, a sale not yet completed, and already an open wound in the city. The club's leadership has argued that visible construction progress puts Valencia in a stronger position to raise money from that sale. But for many fans, monetizing their 100-year-old home to finish a stadium that Peter Lim's ownership left frozen for a decade is a bitter proposition. It didn't help that Lim himself was reported to have visited the site for the first time in over 6 years. The rebirth may be real. The trust is not yet fully restored. For 16 years, the Nou Mestalla was a monument to ambition that outran reality, to a golden age that faded, and to promises a club couldn't keep. Now the roof is going on, the money is in place, a World Cup deadline is looming, and a move-in date is finally real. If the date holds, walking out of the old Mestalla for the last time in 2027 won't just be a change of address, it'll be the end of the most infamous unfinished story in modern football. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss anything. Thanks for watching. See you next week.